Okay, today we're going to do the design of love. It's basically a new piece. Then we're going to finish up from yesterday. And we're speaking about different things in Masechta, how to become tame or not. So we brought in Brisa, right at the top of the design of love. The Brisa says like this: the Tanya, Safik mashkin mitame, tame, tame acherim tor, divrei me. So there's a concept called something which is a suffix tum. What does that mean? It means if you have a cup of water, let's say, and there's a suffix, a person who's tummy came into the area where the cup of water was. There's a suffix whether he touched the cup or he didn't touch the cup. So this is called suffix tum. The question is, what is the status of the cup? And that's one question. And the question is, if the cup itself is tummy. Another question is the water able to matame something else or not? So there's two levels of it. There's a level of the cup of the liquid itself being tummy, and then there's a level that the liquid not only itself is tummy, it's able to matame something else. So the mayor says, starting again, savik mashkin tummy. If you have mashkin, if you have liquid that is a suffix, if it's tummy or not, the din is it's for itself tummy, it's tummy. The tummy acherim, but however, when it comes to matame something else, it doesn't have the koyach to matame something else since it's only tummy misafik, and therefore it's tar. That's divrei me. This is Rame's word. So again, the liquid now is tummy. The liquid is tummy, but it doesn't have a koyach to matame something else. That is Rame's opinion. Then the Brisa continues saying a very important line. We're gonna have to remember this for in a minute. V'chein hoy Rabbi Lazar Rabbi Lazar would say like Rameh, meaning Rabbi Lazar passing like Rameh, that if you have liquid which is suffix, which is tummy or not, the din is the liquid is tummy, but it can't be tummy something else. That's all the Rameh and Rabbi Lazar's opinion. Yehuda says Bakel tummy. It's tummy for everything. What does it mean? It means if you have a liquid, he argues in Rameh, so if you have a liquid which is suffix tummy, not only does it itself become tummy, but it's also able to matame something else. So the other extreme of Rameh is Rabbi Yehuda. The third opinion is Rabbi Yossi and Shimon say it depends for what. If you have liquid which is a suffix became tummy, so if number one it itself it's tummy, but to matama other things, if it's regarding food, meaning if you have liquid that's a suffix whether it touched tum or not, touched other foods, so then it's tummy. The food now becomes tummy. Kalim, regarding vessels, if you have a liquid that's a suffix, if it's tummy, touched vessels, tahirim, the vessels are tar, meaning the thing itself is tummy, but to contaminate other things, we make a division between vessels and food. If it touched food, then it's tummy. If it touched vessels, then they stay tar. So we have three opinions over here. I have Rame's opinion that the liquid itself is tummy, but it can be tummy something else. You have, and that's what Rabbi Lezer holds also. You have Yehuda's opinion that says not only the liquid itself is tummy, but it's able to matame something else. And then you have a third opinion, Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Shimon, that says that the liquid itself is tummy, but regarding matame other things, it depends what it touches. If it touches food, then the food now becomes tummy. If it touches vessels, then the vessels do not become tummy. Okay, so that's the Brisa we had about tum. So one of the opinions we just mentioned over here was Rabbi Lezer. We said that Rabbi Lezer holds like a make. That what? That if you have liquid, it's a suffix became tum or not. So the actual liquid now becomes tummy, meaning it'll be unfit for using the Mikdash and for other purposes, but it doesn't have a care from a time of something else. Says the Gemara of Savar Rabbi Lezer, mashkin isto tum ve'elam. Does Rabbi Lezer hold that mashkin is able to become, that liquid is able to become tummy b'chlal? So this is we already touched on the subject already. Food is able to become tummy. But when it comes to, because it says in Torah how much of times that meat becomes tummy and other food becomes tummy. But regarding liquid, it doesn't say clear in Torah that liquid becomes tummy. So the big machlekes tanoim if liquid is able to become tummy or not. So from what we just said now before, that Rabbi Lezer says if you have liquid that became suffix tumah or not, Rabbi Lezer said that it's tummy. Says the Gemara, how can Rabbi Lezer say when I say it's tummy? We're going to be a contradiction. That Rabbi Lezer says that liquid in general can become tummy. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Lezer mashkin is to tumah ba'olam. Are you telling me that Rabbi Lezer holds that liquid could become tummy? Tanya, Brisa, Rabbi Lezer says, "Ein tumah la mashkin kol ikar." Rabbi Elazar is of the opinion that liquid cannot become tummy b'chlal. So if Rabbi Elazar is of the opinion that liquid cannot become tummy, how can we have another brayso that says Rabbi Elazar says that liquid does become tummy? And what's the example that we see liquid doesn't become tummy? Tell you that the brayso continues saying, you should know, Sharehei Yosef ben Yezei Shreda. Yosef ben Yezei Shreda, he was one of the people who gave testimony of what happened in Beis Mikdash after Beis Mikdash was destroyed. So he gave a whole bunch of different dinim that were in the time of the Beis Mikdash, and Masechta Adius has a lot of his testimonies. So one of the testimonies he gave was number one al ayil kamsa, that is a certain grasshopper, a certain locust, that's name was ayil kamsa, that's kosher. That's kosher. And the second testimony, which is what's important to us, that the liquid that was in the Beis Hamikdash, meaning the liquid that was in Beis Hamikdash, they used to shaft a lot of karbanos. So Yosef ben Yezer says that the liquid in the Beis Hamikdash was tar, meaning no one was able to become tamei from the liquid on the floor of the Beis Hamikdash. Why? Because liquid in general doesn't become tamei. So if liquid in general doesn't become tamei, how can Rabbi Elazar say that if you have liquid that's a suffix with tuma, then it's tamei? Obviously, how can it become tamei? Liquid in general doesn't become tamei. So that's the question we're asking Rabbi Elazar. Says the Gemara further. In this statement of Rabbi Yosef, in this statement that we just said now, from Yosef ben Yezer that he said that Beis Hamikdash liquid never became tamei. So there's an argument exactly what he meant. Shmuel interpreted the opinion of Yosef ben Yezer that he didn't mean that Beis Hamikdash liquid never became tamei. He meant that liquid never was able to matama something else, meaning that liquid could become tamei, but it doesn't have the strength to matama something else. So that would answer Rabbi Elazar's the contradiction of Rabbi Elazar. Why? Because Rabbi Elazar agrees to Meir that liquid that's a suffix became tamei, it itself becomes tamei, but it's not able to matama something else. So that's not a contradiction to Rabbi Elazar. But if you're going to interpret it like Rav's opinion, which Rav says, mamish, Rav says that liquid is never able to makabel tumah in general. Not only it can't contaminate anything else, it itself can become tumah. So if you hold according to Rav, who translated the brayso that Rabbi Elazar holds that liquid itself can never become tamei, then how does that fit with the other brayso that we had that Rabbi Elazar agrees to the opinion of Rabbi, that Rabbi says that liquid can become tamei? So I'm just going to answer which the Maskana Gemara does not like this answer because it's a bit of a doichek. The Gemara says, Amram Nachman by Yitzchak achod. Nachman Yitzchak says that which Rabbi Elazar agreed to Rabbi in the previous brayso that we started off learning today didn't mean that he agreed to Rabbi in all the things that he said. Rabbi said a few things. Someone Rabbi said that the Rabbi said that the Rabbi said a few things in that brayso. So that regarding the other things that we don't have the whole brayso, but regarding the other things that Rabbi said, that's what Rabbi Elazar is agreeing to. Mashenkin regarding this detail of liquid becoming tamei, Rabbi Elazar doesn't agree to that. So therefore, it's no contradiction. Says the Gemara, how can you say that Rabbi Elazar doesn't agree to that? It says in the brayso uses the lashon v'hakidvarav. Rabbi Elazar emekidvarav. Rabbi Elazar says like the words lashon rab, words plural, which implies that he agrees to everything Rabbi says. And the brayso, another question is that in the brayso said v'chein Amar Rabbi Elazar. So too Rabbi Elazar says. So right after the statement that Rabbi says that liquid is able to become tamei, the brayso says v'chein Amar Rabbi Elazar, and so too is the opinion of Rabbi Elazar. So you can't tell me Rabbi Elazar doesn't hold of that because the brayso uses lashon v'chein. And Amar the Gemara from Yosef Kasha, we have a question. The Gemara does not answer the question, and we stay with the contradiction in Rabbi Elazar. In one place you see Rabbi Elazar holds that liquid does become tamei, and another place we see that Rabbi Elazar holds liquid doesn't become tamei. Okay. Gufa. Gemara goes further on explaining before. We said before we brought down a testimony of Yosef ben Yezer Ish Shreda. Yosef ben Yezer Ish Shreda said that the liquid in the Beis Hamikdash wasn't tam, meaning the blood on the floor, or whatever it was not able to become tam. So we had a argument between Rav and Shmuel. What does it mean it wasn't able to become tummy? Shmuel said the liquid, the blood itself was able to become tummy, but it wasn't able to be matam anything else. Meaning, if a Torah person would touch the blood, even though the blood itself is tummy, so therefore you have to get rid of it. But a Torah person does not become tummy. That's Rav's opinion. That's Shmuel's opinion. Rav says that no, that when Yosef said that the liquid is Torah, he meant the liquid is never able to become tummy. Not only liquid is not able to matam anyone else, but liquid is never able to become tummy in general. So the Gemara is going to go into this statement of Rav. Kufa, we learned before, Rav says, Dochan Mamish, that liquid in the Beis Hamikdash, which means any liquid is always toy. Shmuel says, no, Dochan minatame. Shmuel argues it. Shmuel says that when are they tired? The only tired regarding relevant to something else, meaning they can't tam anything else, but regarding themselves, they're tam. So we have an argument at Rav and Shmuel if liquid could become tummy or not. Regarding matama something else, meaning if someone would touch this liquid, everyone agrees side Shmuel, everyone agrees that this person will not become tummy because liquid does not have the strength to matama something else. But regarding the actual status of the liquid itself, is it tamei or is it tar? So that's machlekes Rav and Shmuel. Shmuel says the liquid is tamei. Rav says liquid is tar. Liquid can never become tamei. Says the Gemara, Rav Omar Dochon Mamch. Rav who says that liquid is tahir kasavar, because Rav holds that Tumas Mashkin the Rabban that midday raisa liquid can never become tamei. The reason why liquid would be able to become tamei is only with the Rabban. When the Rabbanon said that liquid can become tamei only in liquid which is not in Beis Hamikdash. Umashkin based on the Chaim legoz. But regarding Beis Hamikdash, Rabbanon didn't say Rabbanon one gezer. So therefore, that's why the Yosef says the testimony that Beis Hamikdash the liquid was not tamei because the Rabbanon one gezer on the liquid. Again, the tumah of liquid the is not such thing. Where is that tumah the Rabbanon? Rabbanon one gezer on outside Beis Hamikdash. Masechta in Beis Hamikdash itself, Rabbanon one not gezer. That's Rav's opinion. Yeah, so that's Rav's opinion. Shmuel says a different thing. Shmuel says Dachan minatama tumusachin. About tumus atzma yeshlem. Shmuel says that they themselves are tummy, but they can't be matam anything else. He holds kasavar tumus mashkin atzma deiraisa. Shmuel holds that liquid could become tummy deiraisa. L'tamei acherim b'drabban. Their strength to become tummy deiraisa is only for them themselves. To matama something else, they can't be matama something else from deiraisa. Who was guys that can be matama something else? Rabbanon. When the Rabbanon guys are on standard liquid, but mashkin mesmit b'chaim legazu. When it comes to the liquid in the Beis Hamikdash, they weren't geyser. V'chilei gazu Rabbanon l'tamoy acherim. Avotum satzum yesh lahem. They weren't geyser to matama anything else, but they have themselves. They are tamid by themselves. Meaning like this: we have just to make a recap. We have an eidos and yes, we have the Ish that says the liquid in the Beis Hamikdash was not tamid. The question is why. So, liquid in the Beis Hamikdash was not able to contaminate anyone else. So according to Rav, the reason why it can't contaminate anyone else is because liquid in general, they can't contaminate anyone. Liquid cannot become tamid. B'chutz la'aretz, Rabbanon were gezer that liquid could become tamei, but they weren't gezer in Beis Hamikdash. That's when Beis Hamikdash liquid wasn't tamei, it wasn't able to matam anyone else. Shmuel holds no, that the reason why in Beis Hamikdash it wasn't tamei is because liquid in general is able to become tamei deiraisa. It's not able to matam anyone else, but it's able to become tamei by itself. Rabbanon were gezer that in chutz la'aretz that liquid's able to matam. Also able to matama someone else. In Beis Hamikdash, they're geyser. So in other words, the question is what Rabbanon were geyser. What's Rabbanon's chiddush? According to Rav, the chiddush of Rabbanon is the whole concept of liquid becoming tamei is a concept of Rabbanon. And that the one goes in the Beis Hamikdash. So therefore, the liquid in the Beis Hamikdash itself is Toy. According to Shmuel, the concept of liquid becoming Tameh is Deraisa, liquid is able to become Tameh. Elamar, one of Machadish, not only liquid to become Tameh by itself, it's able to matama someone else. And the chiddush is that in Beis Hamikdash, the one goes there, they just let it stay by it's the Deraisa status, that it stays Tameh by itself. But the bottom one goes there, and Beis Hamikdash says should matama someone else. So that's the opinions of Rav and Shmuel. I was going to ask a question on that. Amr Rav Huna bar Chinana livrei. Rav Huna, son of Chinana, told his son, Ki ailas lekamed Rav Papa. When you go to Rav Papa, he was traveling to Rav Papa. So he told him, Ki ailas Rav Papa. When you go to Rav Papa, Rami lay ask him like this: Mi alma Shmuel docham min the tumas acherim, avo tumas atzmam yesh lahem, kari kan va'basar asher yiga b'chotame lo yeach. Let's explain the question. The question is like this. We just learned before the Shmuel said the liquid in the Beis Hamikdash is tamei by itself, but it cannot be matam anything else. So Rav Huna told his son to ask Rav Papa, how can Shmuel say that the liquid in the Beis Hamikdash can't be matam anything else, even though in general the liquid can't be matam anything else? And when it comes to hekdesh, when it comes to things which are holy, when it comes to things which are holy, we see in the Torah said that even though the general rules of Tumah apply in a certain way, but to matame something which is holy, we're much more machmir, and even something which is not usually able to matame something in general, when it comes to karbanos, it's able to matame karbanos. Like it says in the pasuk, if meat of the Beis Hamikdash touches anything which is tummy, it doesn't have to be something which is able to matame something else. It doesn't have to be something which is able to matame. As long as that thing is tummy, even though for other things, if that thing is tummy, it's not able to matame something else. When it comes to Beis Hamikdash, and when it comes to the meat of the karbanos, it's extra chumrah, and therefore it's tummy if it touches anything tummy. So the question is, how can Shmuel say that the liquid in the Beis Hamikdash wasn't matame anything else? There's a clear pasuk that says that if meat touches something which is tummy, then the meat becomes tummy. Even though regarding chulin, if it was a regular piece of meat, it wouldn't become tummy. But regarding a carbon, there's different rules. So how can Shmuel say the liquid can't be matame anything else? If Beis Hamikdash, the only thing that was able to matame is the kahanim and the carbon. And a carbon, we have a special rule that a carbon touches anything which is tummy, is tummy. Says the Gemara, I'm Rav Shisha Berei, the Rav Idi, Midi the Havar Vi Bakodesh. Shisha says that we find meat that touches something which is tummy is tummy, even though that thing usually cannot contaminate anything else. But regarding a karbanos, it could. So the Shisha answers that the only other time we find the musaf, we find the concept that meat which touches something which is tummy does not become tummy if the meat of the Beis Hamikdash touched a fourth degree tumah. What does the fourth degree tumah mean? Fourth degree tumah means if you have something which touched something that touched something, and if you have the av is the dead person himself, and then something touched the av, Reuven touched the av, and then Shimon touched Reuven, and then Levi touched Shimon. So Levi is a Revi. Revi doesn't have a kayach to even matame a carbon. Even though a carbon usually becomes tummy by any type of tumah, regarding a fourth degree tumah, everyone agrees that it's not able to matame even a carbon. So Rav Shisha says that when Abanom goes on the liquid Beis Hamikdash that it should become tummy, they didn't say it should become tummy a general tumah. They said it should become tummy like a fourth degree tumah, and a fourth degree tumah isn't able to matame anything else. Says the Gemara, I'm asking for Rav Ashi. How can you say Rabbanim Gezer that it should be a fourth degree tumah? A fourth degree tumah in Torah terms is not counted. Is not tummy b'chla. He's not called a tummy. By now, Bryce we learned that Shmuel said that the liquid itself becomes tummy. So there's no such thing as becoming tummy if you're fourth degree as being called a tummy if you're fourth degree tumah. So the Gemara Kasha stays by a question. So it's the second time we did that today. The Gemara stays by a question and says and doesn't have an answer to the question on Naf Papa. Okay, now we're going to a whole new subject. So it's in the dinim of Tumah, but it's a new concept. Tashima. We're asking questions now on Rav's opinion. That Rav held that liquid doesn't become tum. Rav holds if you have a cup of water, that cup of water can never become tum. Tashima. Ask a question on Rav. It says a clear pasuk that says says that if a rodent touches, or someone who became tummy for touching a rodent, drinks from a cup of water, the liquid in that water becomes tummy. So how can I say that liquid doesn't become tummy? Is a clear pasuk that says liquid does become tummy. Says the Gemara, ma yitma, when the pasuk says that liquid becomes tummy, it doesn't mean yitma that it became tummy. It means hechshir. Hechshir means, I think we learned about this once. In order for something to become tummy, it has to be wet. It has to be liquid. Has to have been in it at some stage. If you have a completely dry thing that would never have liquid in it, when it comes to food, so if something that never had liquid in it can never become tummy, even though it has the full categories of tumah regarding if it would have liquid in it. But since liquid never came on it, it doesn't become tummy. So that answers that what the pasuk says. That what the pasuk says that the water, that the liquid became tummy, doesn't mean the liquid became tummy. It means that liquid has a koyach to make something else be available to become tummy. Says the Gemara, if we're talking hachshara, if we're talking about that the liquid has a koyach to make something become tummy, we already learned that from the beginning of the pasuk. The beginning of the pasuk says that if you have food, the food only becomes tummy if you have liquid on it. So I don't need the second half of the pasuk to tell me that liquid makes something tummy. So the Gemara, no. The first half of the pasuk, and the second half of the pasuk is speaking about two different types of liquid. Chad b'tlushin, chad b'muchabarin. First half of the pasuk is talking about liquid that is detached from the ground, the liquid which isn't in a well, liquid which is inside a cup, and that's one chiddush, that liquid is able to make things wet for tumah. V'chad muchabarin. And the second half of the pasuk is speaking about a liquid that's connected to the ground. What do we care if it's connected to the ground or not? Because there's a din that what type of liquid is able to make something tummy? Only liquid which is chashuv, only liquid which is something worth it. Meaning, if you have plants and they got watered by mistake, or they got watered without your intention, you had no intention that the plant should get watered. So even though the plants are wet, they do not become tummy. Because it's a special din that the liquid that makes something that's able to make something become tummy has to be liquid which is their intention. In other words, the liquid is there because you want it to be there. So therefore, I need two psukim to teach us for that sai liquid which is detached from the ground can make something tummy, and sai liquid which is connected to the ground can make something tummy. Why do you need two psukim? I need both. If you just have a pasuk to teach us that any liquid which is detached from the ground, let's say liquid inside the cup, is able to make something tummy, so I could say over there the reason why I can make something tummy is mishum dach shavinu, because since you put it inside the cup, so you are megale, you revealed your intention that you want this liquid to make. This liquid is a mitzvah. So this liquid is a being by itself, but you detached it from the ground, and therefore this liquid now has the strength in it to make something tummy because you gave it a chshivus. But if you have liquid inside a well, or inside a pit, so maybe liquid inside a pit doesn't have a care to make something tummy because the liquid inside a pit, I never thought about it. I never detached it in my brain that this liquid should be something substantial. So therefore, I need a pasuk to teach us about also liquid inside a well that it's able to make something tummy. And if the pasuk will only tell us about liquid inside a well, so I could say the other way around. From the kind I could say liquid inside a well. Liquid inside a well is that's what the source of water is, and that's where the main chshivus of water comes from, being inside the well. So liquid inside the well doesn't need you to make it into a mitzvah. It doesn't need you to make it into a chashuv thing. Liquid inside the well is chashuv while it's there. But if you have liquid which is detached, so maybe I could say that once I detached it, al megaladas, I don't want this liquid to matama something else. I don't care about this liquid. So therefore, tzricha, I need both psukim to tell us these. I need a pasuk to tell us about liquid which is detached and say liquid which is still connected to the ground. Okay, so that's one question we have on Rav, and we answered that question. I'm going to ask another question. Tashruma. Another question on Rav, again, Rav's opinion is that liquid cannot become tummy. Says the Gemara, it says in Pasuk, Ach mayim burn mikvah mayim yetar. It says in Pasuk that if you have a stream, or if you have a spring is tar. A spring is pure. That's what it says in the Pasuk. Mayim burn mikvah mayim or mikvah yetar is pure. So the Gemara's having it is that yetar means the actual water is pure, which is mashma. If the pasuk has to tell us that the water of a spring is pure, mashma the other water is not pure, which is a contradiction to Rav that says that water can become impure. So the Gemara, no, it doesn't mean when the Torah said the water is pure, it doesn't mean that the water is pure and therefore the actual water is pure. It means the water is pure and therefore it's able to matar someone else. Therefore, if someone goes to that into that stream, he will become tar. So that's another question we have in Rav, and we answered that question. Now we're finished with one more small piece of Gemara, the end of the Amud. Gemara says it's plushin mi machshirin. We said inside, we just said before, that if you have liquid inside a cup, the liquid inside a cup, which is called plushin. Plushin means they're detached from their marker. The liquid inside the cup is able to make something become tummy. Meaning, if you're going to take the water from inside the cup and pour it onto the apple now would be able to become tummy. Says the Gemara, water that's detached from its source is able to make something tummy. Says, Mashkin based mit b'chayo loy dayan shein dochan elo shein machshirin. Basically, when Machanina says the water inside the mashkin based the blood inside the Beis Hamikdash. So not only the blood was itself tar, but the blood wasn't even able to make something else tummy. Meaning, if you would take this blood and you put it on the apple or something, even and then a Talmudic person will touch the apple will not become tummy. Why? Because this blood, not only the blood itself is tummy, is tar, but the blood doesn't have a care to be machshir something. It doesn't have a care to make something wet. So how can you tell me? That liquid, which isn't by its source, is able to make something wet? Halachically, we have a clear brayso that says that Machanina says that the blood in Beis Hamikdash, which we suppose the reason why it can't make something wet because it's not by its source anymore, it's not by the animal anymore. Therefore, it's not counted as liquid, and therefore it can't make something wet anymore. I think that's not a contradiction because Tirguma al Dam, he was talking about blood. He's speaking about dam, the blood of the kabbanis, and the blood of the kabbanis is a separate din. Why? Because the blood of the kabbanis, it says dam shenishpach kamayim machshir. Dam she'ein nishpach kamayim in a machshir. The special din regarding blood is only able to make something become tummy. It's if it's nishpach kamayim, if it's similar to water. What do you mean similar to water? It says that after you finish shechting a regular animal, not a carbon, regular animal, the blood should be thrown on the floor like water. But if you have blood which isn't thrown on the floor like water, the blood of kabbanis, which isn't thrown on the floor, the blood of kabbanis, which is usually accepted in a vessel by a kohen to throw on the mizbeach. So blood of Beis Hamikdash is a different din. Blood of Beis Hamikdash can't be compared to water because water is usually is poured on the floor. Shenkin, the blood of the kabbanis isn't poured on the floor. The blood of the kabbanis is accepted in a vessel by a kohen. Since it's accepted in a vessel by a kohen, so therefore it doesn't have the same din as water, and therefore it doesn't have a kerach to make something wet. Even though regular blood would have a kerach to make something wet, but over here it's a special din that the blood of the Beis Hamikdash doesn't have a kerach to make something wet. Regarding the laws of Tum, we'll stop over here on Daf Tezayin Amid Beis.